April 1945. The war in Europe is collapsing. German armies are retreating on every front. Allied troops are pushing deep into the Reich. The end appears inevitable. Victory seems only weeks away. And yet, far from the ruins of Berlin, another battle is about to begin. Across the Atlantic, American naval commanders are on edge. Reports are coming in, fragmented, incomplete, but deeply unsettling. German submarines are leaving European ports. Not dozens, not fleets, just enough to matter. To most Americans, the Atlantic War feels finished. Convoys sail safely. Coastal cities sleep without blackout curtains. The danger that once stalked the eastern seaboard seems like a memory from another phase of the war. The Navy knows better. Late-war German U-boats are no longer the same enemy faced in 1942. New designs promise greater speed, longer endurance, and near-silent underwater movement. Intelligence officers whisper about revolutionary weapons. Payloads never meant to fight ships at sea, but to strike cities. No one knows for certain what these submarines carry. There are rumors of rockets, chemical weapons, even radioactive materials. None of it is confirmed, but none of it can be dismissed. The nightmare scenario is simple. A German submarine surfaces near the coast of the United States. A weapon is launched. A city is hit. Even one attack would change everything. Washington takes the threat seriously. What follows is one of the largest anti-submarine mobilizations in Atlantic history, assembled not to win territory, not to protect convoys, but to prevent the war from reaching American shores. The operation is given a name that reflects the fear behind it. Operation Teardrop. Its objective is absolute. Find the submarines, destroy them, before they reach land. The enemy behind this final threat is a nation already on the brink of defeat, Germany. But desperation has always been its most dangerous weapon. As destroyers, escort carriers, and patrol aircraft begin to converge on the cold waters of the North Atlantic, no one knows whether the danger is real. Only that it cannot be ignored. This is not a battle for victory. It is a battle to prevent catastrophe. In early April 1945, fear spreads faster than facts. Across Allied intelligence networks, reports begin to converge on a single conclusion. German submarines are heading west, not retreating, not fleeing, advancing. The number's small, only a handful of boats, but their timing is alarming. Germany is losing the war. Cities are falling. Fuel is scarce. Crews are exhausted. So why send submarines into the Atlantic now? American naval intelligence cannot answer that question, and that uncertainty is dangerous. Late-war U-boats are no longer the slow, vulnerable hunters of 1942. New snorkel systems allow them to remain submerged for days. Improved batteries give them greater underwater endurance. Acoustic torpedoes make escort ships nervous prey. More troubling are the rumors. Some intelligence officers believe the submarines are carrying unconventional payloads, weapons not meant to attack ships, but cities. The possibility of a final act of revenge, a symbolic strike against the American homeland, is taken seriously at the highest levels. The eastern seaboard becomes the focus of intense scrutiny. From Newfoundland to Cape Cod, naval patrols increase. Aircraft fly longer missions. Destroyers remain at sea without pause. Escort carriers are repositioned closer to potential threat zones. The public is told nothing. There are no blackouts, no warnings, no headlines. Panic, the Navy understands, would serve the enemy better than any weapon. Inside command rooms, the atmosphere is different. Every radar contact is examined. Every sonar echo is treated as hostile until proven otherwise. False alarms are frequent. Merchant ships are mistaken for submarines. Whales trigger alerts. Entire task groups are diverted on nothing more than suspicion. This is not paranoia. It is preparation. Operation Teardrop grows rapidly, drawing resources from across the Atlantic Fleet. Veteran anti-submarine crews are reassigned. New hunter-killer groups are formed with explicit orders to destroy any U-boat detected, without hesitation. The assumption is simple. If even one submarine slips through, the consequences could be catastrophic. No one knows whether the threat is real, but no one is willing to risk finding out the hard way. By mid-April 1945, the Atlantic is no longer just an ocean. It is a canvas for speculation, fear, and worst-case thinking. American intelligence begins connecting scattered fragments into a picture that grows darker with every report. German scientists have built rockets capable of reaching distant targets. Chemical weapons stockpiles exist. Desperation has already driven Berlin to extreme measures. If the war is lost, why not strike back? Rumors circulate of submarines equipped to launch missiles from the sea, of cargo holds carrying chemical agents, of weapons designed not to win the war, but to leave a scar that would last long after Germany's defeat. No hard evidence confirms any of it. That makes the threat worse. Naval planners understand a brutal truth. Uncertainty forces maximum response. A single U-boat, if armed with an unconventional weapon, could bypass every traditional defense. No fleet engagement, no warning, just impact. The idea of a submarine surfacing within sight of an American city is no longer theoretical. It is discussed in briefing rooms. Maps of the eastern seaboard are marked with potential launch points. Circles are drawn, distances measured, timelines calculated in minutes rather than days. Publicly, life goes on. Privately, commanders prepare for the unthinkable. The memory of Pearl Harbor hangs over every conversation. No one wants to be the officer who ignored a warning because it seemed improbable. No one wants history to repeat itself on a different coast. German silence fuels the fear. Radio traffic from U-boats is minimal. Orders are brief. Movements are deliberate. To Allied analysts, it looks less like routine patrols and more like a final mission with no expectation of return. The enemy behind these rumors is already collapsing. Germany is losing territory by the hour. But collapsing powers are often the most dangerous. Operation Teardrop is no longer about submarines alone. It is about preventing a final, symbolic act of vengeance. Until the truth is known, every rumor is treated as real. Every contact is assumed hostile. And every German submarine is considered a potential doomsday weapon, moving silently beneath the Atlantic waves. By mid-April 1945, uncertainty hardens into action. The United States Navy can no longer wait for confirmation. Whatever the German submarines are carrying, weapons, supplies, or nothing at all, they are moving west, and they must be stopped. Operation Teardrop officially begins. It is not a single task force, but a massive, layered defensive shield stretched across the North Atlantic. Destroyers, destroyer escorts, escort carriers, long-range patrol aircraft, all are pulled into a coordinated hunt. The objective is simple. No German submarine is allowed to reach the American coast. Hunter-killer groups are assigned fixed patrol zones, creating overlapping fields of detection. Sonar watches run without pause. Aircraft patrol the skies from dawn to dusk, scanning for periscopes, oil slicks, or the faintest disturbance on the ocean surface. This is not convoy escort. This is pursuit. Unlike earlier phases of the Atlantic War, the Navy is no longer reacting to attacks. It is actively searching, striking first, and refusing to disengage once contact is made. Rules of engagement are clear. Any U-boat detected is to be destroyed immediately. There will be no attempts at capture, no hesitation, no warning. The fear driving the operation leaves no room for restraint. The Atlantic in April is unforgiving. Cold seas, heavy swells, poor visibility. Crews operate in near constant exhaustion, knowing that a single missed contact could mean failure. Escort carriers launch aircraft into rough weather that would have grounded planes earlier in the war. Pilots fly long patrols over empty water, knowing that most missions will find nothing, but one might find everything. Below the surface, German submarines move cautiously. They know the war is nearly lost. They know Allied anti-submarine technology has reached deadly efficiency. Yet they continue westward, following orders that remain unknown to their hunters. Each contact tightens the noose. Each sonar echo could be the beginning of a lethal engagement. Operation Teardrop is now fully underway. A silent race between fear and fact, fought in cold water far from any battlefield that history would remember. The first days of Operation Teardrop pass without gunfire. The ocean remains silent. But silence does not mean safety. Across thousands of square miles of the North Atlantic, American hunter-killer groups grind forward with methodical precision. Sonar pulses echo into the deep, return nothing, then repeat again. Crews begin to understand that this operation will not be fast. It will be relentless. Then the first contact comes, a faint sonar return, uncertain, fleeting. The kind of echo that could be a thermal layer, or the steel hull of a submarine barely moving below. The destroyer escort slows, engines reduced to a whisper. Sonar operators lean closer to their headsets, filtering background noise, isolating the rhythm of the ocean. The contact strengthens. A submerged object, moving slowly, deliberately. The call goes out across the task group. Possible submarine contact. Depth charge crews man their stations. Aircraft overhead adjust their patrol patterns, tightening the net. Every ship understands the danger of this moment. A single mistake could allow the target to vanish back into the Atlantic. Below the surface, the German submarine knows it has been detected. The U-boat's commander orders silent running. Motors slow to a crawl. Crewmen freeze in place. No unnecessary movement. No sound. The submarine sinks deeper, hoping cold layers of water will distort Allied sonar. But this is no longer 1942. American sonar technology has improved. Operators understand thermal layers, convergence zones, and deceptive echoes. They know what they are hearing and what they are not. The first depth charges roll off the stern. Explosions thunder through the water, shock waves slamming into the submarine's pressure hull. Lights flicker, instruments shake, but the U-boat survives. For now, the attack continues for hours. Ships circle the contact, attacking, reacquiring, attacking again. Aircraft drop sonar buoys, turning open ocean into a grid of death. There is no escape route that is not watched. This is the new Atlantic War. No dramatic convoy battles, no surface gunfire, just endurance and attrition. By nightfall, the U-boat's batteries are draining. Air grows stale. Crewmen sweat in the darkness, listening as the ocean itself seems to hunt them. The Americans do not rush. They wait. Operation Teardrop is proving exactly what it was designed to be. Not a single battle, but a slow, crushing pressure that no submarine can withstand forever. By the second week of Operation Teardrop, the Atlantic no longer feels vast. It feels confined. Hunter-killer groups crisscross the ocean in overlapping patterns, sealing gaps, forcing submarines into smaller and smaller boxes. Every contact is logged. Every disappearance is treated as temporary. Nothing is assumed lost. For the German U-boat commanders, the realization is brutal. This is not pursuit. This is containment. Submarines attempting to evade detection find their options disappearing. Surfacing at night risks radar-equipped escorts. Diving deeper drains batteries faster than ever. Silent running slows escape to a crawl. The ocean itself has become hostile. The first confirmed kill of this phase comes suddenly. A sonar contact refuses to fade. Depth charge patterns tighten. Explosions hammer the seafloor with mechanical regularity. Then, unmistakable signs rise to the surface. Oil, debris, fragments of insulation and wood. There is no doubt. A U-boat has been destroyed. Across the task force, the response is restrained. There is no cheering, only confirmation, logging, and immediate redeployment. The hunt does not pause for celebration. Below the surface, surviving submarines feel the consequences immediately. Radio silence becomes absolute. Crews ration air. Engines remain off for hours at a time. Condensation drips from steel walls as men sit motionless in darkness, listening to distant propellers that never seem to go away. American commanders exploit this pressure relentlessly. Rather than chasing aggressively, they wait. Aircraft circle silently. Escorts reduce speed, conserving fuel, holding positions like sentries. The objective is no longer speed, it is inevitability. Every hour favors the hunter. A submarine that does not surface will suffocate. A submarine that surfaces will be detected. Mistakes begin to happen. A valve opens too loudly. A crewman slips. A battery overheats. Each small error sends a ripple through the water. An Allied sonar hears it. Another U-boat is located. Then another. Depth charges are no longer dropped in desperation. They are placed with calculation, bracketing predicted positions, forcing submarines to maneuver exactly where the hunters expect them to go. The Atlantic becomes a chessboard, and the pieces are running out of moves. Operation Teardrop is no longer a search. It is an execution carried out over days instead of minutes. As Operation Teardrop enters its final phase, the Atlantic begins to speak, not with gunfire, but with radio signals. Short, broken transmissions crackle through Allied listening stations. German voices, hurried and tense. Position reports sent too late. Requests for orders that will never arrive. The U-boat commanders understand what is happening. The patrol line has collapsed. Submarines that were meant to operate as a coordinated barrier are now isolated, hunted one by one. Communication, once their lifeline, has become a liability. Every transmission risks detection. Every message is another thread for the Americans to pull. Some commanders choose silence. Others, facing dwindling batteries and poisoned air, break radio discipline in desperation. The messages grow shorter, less formal, no longer reports, but farewells. Allied intelligence analysts mark each signal on their maps. Bearings intersect. Probable locations narrow. Hunter-killer groups adjust course with quiet efficiency. The ocean offers nowhere to hide. One U-boat attempts a high-speed surface run under cover of darkness, betting everything on speed. Radar catches it within minutes. Searchlights snap on. The submarine crash dives, but too late. Sonar locks on immediately. Depth charges follow. Another transmission cuts off mid-sentence. Elsewhere, a commander sends a final message acknowledging the situation. No request for rescue, no expectation of survival, only confirmation that the mission has failed. For the men aboard these submarines, the end comes slowly. Hours without movement, air thick with diesel fumes and sweat, batteries nearly dead, hulls creaking under pressure as the boats sink deeper, seeking cold layers that no longer protect them. Above, American crews wait. They do not chase blindly. They listen. They calculate. They know time is on their side. When the final attacks come, they are precise. No wasted charges, no frantic maneuvers, just controlled force applied at exactly the right moment. By the end of the week, the Atlantic falls silent again, not because the danger has passed, but because it has been removed. Operation Teardrop is nearly complete. The last transmissions fade into static, and with them disappears the final illusion that Germany can still threaten the American coast from beneath the sea. By now, the outcome of Operation Teardrop is no longer in doubt. What remains is process. The last German submarines still at sea are no longer attempting to complete their mission. They are attempting to survive, and even that hope is fading. American hunter-killer groups close in with a confidence born of experience. There is no urgency, no improvisation. Each movement is deliberate, rehearsed, and supported by overwhelming resources. The ocean has become transparent. Radar watches the surface. Sonar owns the depths. Aircraft circle above like patient sentries, waiting for the inevitable mistake. One submarine surfaces briefly at night, batteries exhausted, crew desperate for air. The moment it breaks the surface, radar detects it. Aircraft converge. Flares burst overhead, turning darkness into daylight. The submarine dives again, but the advantage is gone. Sonar reacquires the target almost instantly. Depth charges fall in carefully spaced patterns, forcing the boat deeper, then shallower, herding it like prey toward destruction. There is no confusion this time, no uncertainty. The explosions are measured, calculated, final. Across the Atlantic, similar scenes unfold. Submarines that once roamed freely now find themselves trapped in invisible cages formed by sound, radio waves, and constant surveillance. The sea no longer hides them. It betrays them. Inside the boats, crews understand the truth. There will be no relief force, no diversion, no miracle weapon. Germany's submarine campaign has reached its limit, not because of courage or endurance, but because the technological gap has become impossible to overcome. When the final U-boat of Operation Teardrop is destroyed, the moment passes almost quietly. There is no dramatic announcement, no triumphant signal sent across the fleet. Just another entry in a logbook, another position marked on a chart, another threat removed. Operation Teardrop has done exactly what it was designed to do. Not defend the coast through battle, but erase the danger before it could ever appear. For weeks, Operation Teardrop is surrounded by fear. Rumors spread through American command channels, intelligence offices, and even civilian circles. German submarines approaching the American coast, not for reconnaissance, not for conventional attack, but for something worse. Intelligence officers consider a possibility that seems almost unbelievable. U-boats carrying V-weapons, modified rockets, chemical warheads, weapons meant to strike American cities directly from the sea. The threat is taken seriously. Germany is desperate. Its cities are burning. Its armies are collapsing. If a final blow can be struck against the United States, this is how it would come, unseen, unexpected, from beneath the Atlantic. This fear shapes Operation Teardrop. The objective is not interception, it is annihilation. Every submarine must be destroyed before it reaches launch range. There will be no warning shots, no boarding attempts, no chances taken. But as the wreckage is recovered and prisoners interrogated, the truth begins to emerge. The U-boats were not carrying miracle weapons. They were not equipped with rockets or chemical warheads. They were doing what German submarines had done since the beginning of the war, attempting to reach patrol positions, disrupt shipping, and project a threat that no longer matched reality. The panic had outpaced the facts, yet the response remains justified, because even without superweapons, these submarines represented a danger, not to American cities, but to American confidence, to morale, to the illusion of safety as the war entered its final phase. Operation Teardrop was never truly about what the Germans were carrying. It was about what they might have been capable of, and ensuring they never found the opportunity to try. By the time the truth is fully understood, the submarines are already gone. The Atlantic has been cleared. The threat, real or imagined, has been erased with absolute finality. Operation Teardrop ends without ceremony. There is no final broadcast, no victory announcement sent across the fleet, no celebration on the decks of the ships that carried it out. The war in Europe is already collapsing. Berlin will fall within weeks. And yet, in the cold waters of the North Atlantic, something far older and more dangerous has just been extinguished. This was the last true battle of the Atlantic. For 6 years, German U-boats had stalked shipping lanes, strangled supply routes, and brought the war to the very edges of Allied homelands. They had turned oceans into battlefields and forced entire nations to fight for survival across invisible front lines of sound and steel. Operation Teardrop marked the end of that era, not because Germany surrendered, but because the submarine had finally lost its advantage. Technology had overtaken stealth. Coordination had replaced chance. Mathematics had defeated instinct. The Atlantic was no longer a place where a lone commander could disappear into the depths and shape the course of a war. By April 1945, the ocean belonged to those who controlled the air, the spectrum, and the data flowing between ships. The German submarine arm would never recover. Even before the war ended, its fate was sealed beneath the waves, not by heroics, but by systems designed to leave no gaps and no survivors. For the American sailors who took part, Operation Teardrop would fade quickly into routine history. One operation among many, another patrol completed. But in hindsight, it represents something final. The moment when uncertainty itself was hunted down. When fear of the unknown was met not with defense, but with eradication. The Atlantic grew quiet again, not because the war was over, but because one of its most dangerous weapons had been permanently silenced.